man, I'll never look back. Look at all my haters, y'all making them mad.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Christmas Hero coming at you live from Los Angeles. But yeah, I know it's been a while, guys. I've taken a mini hiatus from the game, but I figured, you know what? Let's make a video explaining why, my current thoughts about the game, current tips and tricks maybe, and just overall my thought process on how just the state of affairs of the game. And you know, some of it's good, some of it's bad, guys, but I'm just gonna dig right in. So for example, I know there's been a lot of controversy about how high the card prices are, like Bonfire or SP Little Knight, like things like that. And to be honest with you, I kind of agree. It's like these cards shouldn't be so expensive to where you have to pay multiple hundreds of dollars just to be able to be competitively viable in a TCG, especially if you have to spend so much money just to travel to these events, get hotels, get flights, get all of those things. And I'm fortunate enough to have a pretty decent career now and be able to afford certain things, but even though one may be able to afford it, that doesn't mean they should put their resources and time into things that just keep taking and barely giving anything back. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh to try to like plus or make money or those kinds of things, but if I'm going to put my time into something, I want to be reimbursed for my efforts at least, and not feel like I'm just throwing away time, especially time. Time is like the most important thing. It's more important than money, but I don't want to feel like I'm throwing time and resources away, especially when I do play Yu-Gi-Oh for fun, especially since I have a very high stress environment with my career, being a cardiovascular ICU nurse. I want to make sure that the time I spend on things is well put for it. And for example, Yu-Gi-Oh, one thing that makes me really unhappy is just the fact the prize support isn't there. Like, we have games like Magic, who, if you've played Magic Arena, I've been playing a lot of that lately, like you'll see they really care about their players. They'll give like a bunch of free stuff. They'll do stuff like draft, where you get to keep the cards, and if you get a certain amount of wins, you get the gems back that you spend. So it's just, and even though it's online, it's just little things like that. And you can't really be like, well, it's just online, because look, we have Master Duel. Master Duel doesn't do things like that. So just being able to like, okay, put resources into something and then rewarded for it, that's a big deal. For example, when I got second at the LA regional, I was really happy. Like, I was like, yo, like I almost won an 850 plus man tournament, and that's insane. I went undefeated for 9 out of 10 rounds, lost the very last round to somebody who's currently in the world's race and doing really well in the world's race. And I'm just like, yo, like that's a big deal to me. However, later on, as time went on, I realized, I was like, you know, that was a big deal for me, but I didn't get nothing to really represent the time I put to get there. Like, I got second at a really big regional, but all I got was a deck box and a mat. And it's just like, that's not right. And like, the fact that, you know, I get it that it was the creator's wish to not offer cash prizing, but to be honest, I'm starting to think that the company itself is kind of hiding behind that just to like make it to where they can keep doing like underhanded tactics like low price support. Like, because to be honest, like, to be like, oh, we only require vendors to give a deck box and a mat, but then you have other places giving PS5s with lower counts, or you have other places giving stuff like a bunch of product, like multiple boxes and stuff, and then you go to an LA regional that's like probably one of the hardest ones around, and you get a deck box and a mat for getting second. It's kind of a slap in the face, guys. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really glad I did well. I'm glad my personal goal, you know, top 8 at regional, almost win, but the time and resources versus what you're doing, it just doesn't add up in what you're getting. And that's a really unfortunate aspect to acknowledge. And especially we go into the card prices now that meta decks are literally costing 1,000 and up for lowest rarity. Yeah, I've been looking, guys, to get a lowest rarity possible Fire King deck. It's gonna cost you around $1,100 because you need 3 Bonfire, you need the Sinful package, you need the SP Little Knight, you need all those things, and that's gonna run you about $1,100. You don't believe me? Look on TCG Player. It's just like, if you just want to be competitive, to spend anything over 300, and yeah, it's the best deck. You can argue, oh, it's the best deck, so it's going to cost that much, but this is lowest rarity, guys, in a possible tier 0 format, and it's going to cost you $1,100 to win a deck box and a map. I don't know what to say, guys. And before you guys say, well, you play heroes, you play off meta heroes, you know, you never play the meta. Well, I put the money into the game. I used to travel to events quite a lot. My hero deck is max rarity, which I'm not going to say how much it is, but it's worth more than your Bonfire deck. So you can't say I'm not willing to put the money towards the game, but I'm just tired of feeding into, and this is just in life in general, just you shouldn't practice actively feeding into things that just keep taking from you and barely giving anything in return. That's not healthy. So that's one of my frustrations with the game right now. And another thing is basically accessibility. Konami likes to do this thing where they'll make cards like Bonfire and stuff super hard to get. Forbidden Droplets, when it first came out, super hard to get. Short print, all these things. And then pretty much when the card is falling off, they'll reprint it like crazy. So it's like, yeah, you can buy this and be like, oh, I'm gonna need this card anyway, so it's okay to spend the money. But then they devalue it by reprinting it like crazy in the first place. And it's like, I'm glad it's getting reprinted and making it accessible for people, but why are you only doing it when the card is falling off? That's a little sus to me. And the fact that it devalues the secondary market like that makes it hard for players to willingly be able to trade their cards out for the newer cards coming in. And it just doesn't help the players out. It makes things less accessible. Like, short term, yeah, accessible, because, oh, you get the cards finally, but when you reprint them, like to be honest, in the new, that set that dropped, with like the Evenlies and the QCRs and stuff, Droplets shouldn't have been reprinted again. It was already quite accessible, and then it gets reprinted again. It's like, bro, like that spot could have been for something that like really needed, that people really do want, as opposed to just, oh, another Droplets, great, what do I do with this? Or how often Evenly has been reprinted. Before that set even dropped, you can get it Evenly for $5, and then they reprint that again. And it's like, why are you doing this? And Evenly was already kind of falling off. Notice, guys, like I said, they come out with these strong cards, and then pretty much when these strong cards lose their flavor, they reprint them like, oh, hey, look, buy this strong card, you can finally get it, guys. And then it tricks people like, oh yeah, I've always wanted this card, and then just to realize, oh wait, it's not as good anymore. And you mess with the people that did invest into that card early on. And it's just like, I'm all about making things accessible, but make it accessible from the start. Don't have a game that's so expensive to play and then barely get, you can't have both. You can't make it expensive to play and then not have the prize support to back it up. It doesn't make sense to me, especially since Konami is such a big company, and the people who literally play Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays, since most people know who play card games, they know there's no prize support in it. So they play other games like One Piece, Magic, Pokemon. They know there's no prize support in Yu-Gi-Oh. So the people who are playing Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays are the people like me who just love the game. So it really hurts for me to say these things because I love this game, and to see it just continuously doing this kind of abuse to its player base, it's not good. So yeah, ever since December Las Vegas, I took a break. I'm not traveling. I'm not wasting a whole weekend. Now some may be like, oh, it's just a weekend, that's 2 days. A whole weekend is a lot for me, somebody who works 60-hour weeks, saving people's lives and stuff. That's a lot of time. Yeah, a whole weekend is cool to have fun for, but then coming back after the trip and being drained and then barely having anything to show for it if I do well, it's kind of just like, bro, what? Which is why I made this YouTube channel, to show how well I do or how well I don't do, as kind of like a time capsule kind of thing. So that's cool. But then again, that's nothing that Konami provided. I had to do this myself. So the fact that like you have it so not accessible to the general player base, and then for those who it is accessible to, don't get rewarded as for such, it's just like, that's not cool. Like, for example, Weiss, I was told by a friend who plays that, he says, yeah, it's not accessible to all his players, but then you have basically nationals being 50K prize pool. So even though it's not accessible, those who do play and do get the access to it, it's worth it, because 50K. So at least it balances there. But Konami being probably number 2 or 3 card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! And not being as accessible as it should to its player base, they're acting like they're a small-time company trying to come up in all these short-term underhanded tactics, like, oh, let's release these boxes, and then a few months late with SP Little Knight, and then a few months later release these bonfire things to make you keep dropping max and max. They're acting like they don't have the money to put into long-term investments like better pricing. Like, if you guys did that, or made something like MTG Arena, not Master Duel, we're going to talk about Master Duel, but MTG Arena, where you reward your players, where you show you care about your player base by giving back, you would probably be the best card game. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely, in my opinion, the hardest. Because there's just so many interactions, chain links, the paragraph long, like, come on, bro. So many interactions. So if you were to open up and make it accessible, and then make the pricing better, worth it, you guys could dominate. So that's that. And another thing I would like to touch on, I mentioned it, Master Duel. They advertised Master Duel as, oh, we're gonna have tournaments on it, we're gonna do all this stuff, and then they basically make it like Duel Links, to where, yeah, they have tournaments, but it's not nowhere near as prestigious, because they do stuff like heat maxing in the game, or they do stuff like, okay, it's a carnival, really, it's not really a tournament, and then the only real tournament is the whole world's thing. But what do you get for winning it? What do you get for spending all your time during those days climbing and ranking up to call yourself the best duelist? That is a pretty, don't get me wrong, I was pretty happy to be able to call myself the best hero player. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm the best hero player, I'm the most consistent. But and that was a goal of mine. That was a dream, to be the best at something. But to not have the game you love back you up resourcefully wise, or like even just like something to really show for it, all that time and effort you put in, it kind of hurts. It stings. And before you guys say, oh, well, what about the prize cards? The prize cards, back when I first started playing, 10 years ago, Minerva, Blood Memphis and all that, now that was something to look forward to. The prize cards nowadays, being a $500 vanilla monster no one's ever going to use. What? Why not make it like the show? The show made Blue Eyes pretty much a prize card. There's only 4 in the world. Why not do something like that? Or if you don't want to do that, I can understand the other argument. They don't want to make a super strong card that's not accessible to everyone. Okay, cool. That's fine. So why not do things like make your prize card the only rarity? For example, if they would have made, when a Rise Heart wasn't banned, they would have made a Starfoil Collector's Rare Rise Heart a prize card, and that's the only way you can get it. Not only does it solve the accessibility problem, because everybody can get a Rise Heart, but it solves the problem about making that person feel special for winning the game and feeling like it's worth it. And then not only that, you give them a resource to possibly sell if they would like to keep continuing to play the game, and basically use it to play the game and make them go, yeah, I did this. And then not only that, you appeal to the more casual market because you add something so high rarity, collector's edition, people are going to want that and eat that up. But instead you give us vanilla prize cards and be like, hey, here you go, this is This is it. And it's just like, I finally got my prize card and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. But then I'm just like what? Like I still have it. I still have it. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, it doesn't make you feel special for winning and putting your time into this game. And that's what it should. You like, stop cutting corners, Konami. Like, it's not cool, bro. Like, you're losing a fan base that really loves the game, that will put more money and time into it if you were just to show us the same time or gratitude that we put towards the game. So if you were to show it to us with such simple little things, instead of just worrying about the short-term games. And it's like, you don't need to do that. You're already a big, successful company. Like, so start investing back into your players so they don't get mad and don't be like, what's the point of playing this? So, just coming from somebody who's played it for 12 plus years and who's done pretty well in the game. So, another thing, Master Duel. You got, so besides the whole marketing it for tournaments and then not really being tournaments, the whole ban list thing, having a different ban list, it's like, it feels kind of baity. Like, it feels like you're trying to bait new players into the game, being like, hey, look how cool it is, these cool animations with these strong cards like Maxi that you can play for free and not have to really think about. And then you're just like, oh, look, you can come play TCG. It's kind of the same. You just, you know, it feels kind of baity when you could make it an actual competitive platform like Magic Arena. And before you guys say, well, they would lose money because then nobody would play TCG. People play Arena, Magic Arena, and Magic cards. The fan base is huge, and so is the prize pool. And so that argument, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with the truth. And Konami, Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely number 2 or 3. The big 3 is Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh. So why not follow? Magic is number 1. I hate to say it. Don't get me wrong, Magic's fun. I play Magic. But Magic is number 1 because they have everything a card game wants. The only gripe I have about Magic is literally the fact that you can get landlocked. That's it. The land system in Magic is terrible. Like, terrible. But it has everything you can want in a card game. And there's no reason for Yu-Gi-Oh not to surpass that. I've been wanting to see Yu-Gi-Oh surpass that. But the fact of the matter is, it won't, as long as it keeps treating its players like this. And then releasing things like I don't care if you're pro Maxi or whatever. If you're pro Maxi, just answer this question. Is it polarizing? Yes. Like, Maxi is a polarizing card. The ban list is for polarizing cards. So that's all I'm going to leave there. Because I used to be a fan of Maxi, but then I decided, like, no. When my friend asked me that question, is it polarizing? I realized, okay, I'm wrong. Like, yeah, the ban list is for polarizing cards, polarizing decks, and it's to fix the format. And yeah, you could argue Maxi will help with the current state of the game. There's many Maxi videos, but just ask yourself this: is the card polarizing? It's so polarizing. It makes 6 cards meta that shouldn't be meta. Maxi, Ash, Call By. It was meta even in formats in the TCG, Ash, just because Maxi was around. That it wasn't meta in TCG, like Cash Tier. It was bad. Ash wasn't that good in Cash Tier format. Ash wasn't good in Tier Limit format, but hey, in Master Duel was great just because Maxi's around. I need to draw my anti-Maxi out. Like, what? So the fact that it warps the format that much, that it's that polarizing. And if you don't think it's polarizing, then there's really nothing. Just like, okay, well, I just gave you why. And there's plenty of other evidence, but whatever. But yeah, the fact that it's polarizing, stay on that ban list, and it shouldn't be in Master Duel. And then not only that, it misleads players into thinking like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh's this easy, just, oh, if I draw Maxi, it's a turn skip, I win, when it's not. There's so much more interactions in a Yu-Gi-Oh. Learning how to go second, learning how to go first. So those are my current gripes about Yu-Gi-Oh right now. However, there are some good things that I do have to say. I'm pretty stoked. This is going to sound weird because I do like wide formats. I like wide formats when they're done right. Meaning when all the top, it's not like the Cash Tier format when you have Math Mech and then Runic Naturia and then you have to side for all these top decks, or if you don't draw your side card, you risk just outright losing. No, I like the wide formats like the one we just had with Rescue Ace and stuff. Like that was kind of cool. Like being able to play and interact in the game past turn 2, like things like that. Like those are good wide formats, but also narrow formats are good for the game too, which it looks like we might have to with the whole sinful bonfire things. Like people might disagree with me, but tier limit format was kind of good for the game because it taught players technicalities and how to handle it. Like you can have the best deck, but if you play that mirror match and you don't know how to pilot it, you're going to lose. You're not going to know how to do chain link 11, like those kind of things. And it's very important for players to learn how to play if they're not playing tier limit when they don't have the advantage and when they're in the losing position. So that's when what you can take away from tiers. So it's kind of cool we're getting a narrow format back again after having so many wide formats back to back. So that's pretty exciting. Unfortunately, this looks like it might not be a healthy narrow format. So that's what kind of sucks, because it's not going to be accessible to everybody like tier limit was. It's going to be basically paywalled, and it's just like, well, that sucks. It's like, because then the game can't grow, and it's going to be, oh, well, who has the, like, yeah, games are always kind of like, oh, who has the most money, but this paywall might be like too big for a lot of people to overcome, and you're going to lose interest. Another format that I like that was a narrow format was E-Dragons, because he had so many different variants of E-Dragons just roaming around, and then you had other decks like Constellar and Evil Storm that were competitive, that you could play, that were accessible. So those are examples of narrow formats done right. So hopefully it doesn't become like what I'm saying, but it's looking like it is just because of the sheer price of the cards. But okay, here are some tips and tricks that you can do for said formats that I have for even though I haven't been playing, I've been kind of following. One of the cards that was recently brought to my attention was Soul Release. This is a really good card to have in the side deck, especially for the Fire King deck. And yeah, hero players, we can play Soul Release, like, yeah, let's do it. And you're like, Soul Release, what? It's so slow. So the whole Fire King setup is having that Prometheus Queen and all that in the grave, right? So if you Soul Release them, you simplify the game state so much to where you cut off their bounce back, and you just have to deal with their board. If you're playing a good deck like Heroes, you can deal with boards. It's dealing with all the layers that makes it hard, but just by simply slamming a Soul Release, you strip all those layers away. So look into that card, guys. Soul Release is pretty good. Another card that I would consider playing that's kind of similar, but it's not as like bam impactful, but it's still pretty good, is DD Crow. Being able to banish stuff from the grave is pretty good, especially like for Fire King. It may not like stop them completely, but it still can hurt a lot. And not only that, it really, I feel like Lab is going to be top 5. For DD Crow against the Lab deck, it stops their whole lady combo. And when that got brought to my attention from Cody, I was just like, yo, like DD Crow is insane in this format, because it's just very applicable. You can draw it as your 6th card. It's good. So it's a good card to have. So don't sleep on DD Crow either. Bistals are kind of good too, except you can't Bistal Fire Kings. But things like that are good. Another card I would say not to sleep on is Triple Tactics Thrust if you can utilize it correctly. The only thing I don't like about Thrust right now is that new Diabell Star card that requires people to set cards before activating. Like that kind of hurts. So that's why I liked things like DD Crow. And you could argue that about Soul Release, but you can just set something else in Soul Release and then just deal with the board. So you want the cards you're setting to be really impactful, but Thrust also searches Soul Release. So that's kind of cool too. So yeah, and that's why I like Thrust, because it's like if they are playing that Diabell Star card, the minute they activate it, it's live. So just play that Thrust and get whatever card you need to break their board. Another card that I think is pretty good right now, and you're gonna be shocked because I never play these type of cards. I think Nibiru is actually pretty decent. It's not like, oh my gosh, blowout, but it answers enough in the format to where it can lower the ceilings of the decks to where you can play. And in tier 0 formats, that's what you want. You want cards that can lower the ceiling to where it puts you at an equal playing field. So Nib's pretty cool. Another card that I would consider, this is hero exclusive, or maybe if you can run it too. I know you guys are saying like, oh, it's at 1, it's not worth it to run in the main. No, run that Rivalry of the Warlords. Y'all, a card being at 1 is not a good enough reason not to run it if it's this strong. Rivalry still shuts off the Fire King board. It still makes it to where they have to, like, they can barely play under it. Like, no, run that card. That card is nuts. And yeah, it's at 1. Run it, but don't depend on it. But if you get it, it's a blowout. And that's what I would like to say about Dark Angel. A lot of people are viewing Dark Angel as not good because people can just link it off. When I was winning and doing well in events, I wasn't playing... If I would just end on a Dark Angel GPE board, that means my hand wasn't that great. First and foremost. I wasn't playing Dark Angel to just... oh, I instant auto win. That wasn't the only reason to play it. Yeah, you can auto win some decks, but the main reason for me playing Dark Angel was to facilitate my opponent into playing a certain way to where I can answer it. That way I don't have to worry about multiple, because one of the problems with heroes, especially playing heroes this long before like any of the crazy stuff came out, you couldn't control your opponent's plays as much to tunnel them into a tunnel and guess what they're going to do. You always had to guess. Dark Angel eliminates a lot of the guesswork. For example, you don't have to guess if they have Imperm anymore, or if they top deck Imperm, because guess what? They can't play it. You don't have to worry about evenly matched. You don't have to worry about, like, and then all the people saying, well, it makes you weaker to Nib. If you're still having trouble playing around Nib with heroes, you need to hit the lab and learn the roots, like learn the plasma roots, play cards that play around it, Book of Eclipse, stuff like that. Like, that's why I was playing Book of Moon. Like, people were looking at me crazy for playing Book of Moon at 3-2 still. That was one of the reasons, because not only is it good with Dark Angel, it's phenomenal against Nib. If they try to stop me, I'm still getting Dark Law, I'm still getting DPE. Dark Law DPE just smacks up a lot of decks, and it takes out the guesswork. I don't have to guess and play around an Imperm anymore, because I have an out, Book of Moon. So, like, if you're still struggling with cards like Nib, honestly, that's a skill issue, and you just spend some more time with the deck. That's okay. Like, you can argue our deck's weak to Nib, but I strongly think behind a player who's very adept, they can learn to turn the weakness into a strength, which is what I was doing with Rivalry and Gozen. You can argue, well, Rivalry and Gozen are gone now. Well, you still have cards like Book of Eclipse, Book of the Moon. You still have option selects like going Plasma, which is really good this format. And actually, I'm kind of an advocate for D-Force right now because of how great it is. What? D-Force? You never played in your decks? Yeah, well, you know, you have to adapt. So I probably would play it, probably not sure yet. The only thing I really don't like about D-Force, it's only good when you're able to play. I don't like using cards like that, but I will say I think D-Force is really good. So, especially if people are playing Droll, because you can just Plasma under Droll. So, and another reason that Dark Angel is really, really good, it answers Super Poly, which people are playing. And yeah, you could be like, well, they can link it off then Super Poly. Okay, at least you force them to do that. At least you force them to waste cards to do that, instead of just opening Super Poly and going nuts. And you could argue, well, it's just an extra deck card. Okay, well, at least they didn't just start off and just Super Poly my board and me just hoping they didn't have it. Like, and the fact that Dark Angel is a D hero kind of means a lot too, because you can randomly use it in combos when you're opening him. So it's like, I don't know, that whole they can link it off argument is kind of weird to me. And people probably just think I'm just being like stubborn and I haven't played enough to really know. But I've been following and I'm just like, no, Dark Angel's still good enough to just limit the options of Hole and Perm, even in a Lightning Storm. It's just too, it takes out the guesswork, which is a hero issue. Once you start playing the deck more and more, you realize like, oh, I hate having to guess which line to go into or what to pop just because I don't know what they have. And let's admit, Dark Law is the main guy right now. Being able to protect Dark Law from an Imperm is pretty huge. So, I don't know. There's that. And if you are maining the cards like Rivalry and Book, well, it just adds more power to the Dark Angel route. So, I really don't understand. Whenever you're playing Dark Angel on a field, it should be layered. It should be layered behind a Dark Law. It should be layered behind Favorite Contact. It should be layered behind DPE. It doesn't make sense. Like, your hand has to be really bad to just go DPE Dark Angel. That's it. So, and if it is that bad, then what else would you have win anyway? So, I think Dark Angel should be played. Main or side, now that's debatable, but it should be in there. Especially since not everybody is going to be playing the bonfire stuff and the fire decks. So you will need it for your rogue matches for people that just want to play the game, because that's always there in Tier 0 formats, especially for the first 5 rounds of any big event. So yeah, Dark Angel should be in there. Like, there's not much more to say about that. But if you don't want to play it, I mean, that's you. That's the great thing about Heroes. People can play any way they like. But me personally, I feel like Dark Angel should be in there. I don't want to make this video too long, but some of my closing thoughts is I really love this game. I do plan on coming back. I'm not just going to quit. I'm not quitting. But don't really plan on like, I wanted to do the Worlds race because at one point in September, I think, I was like top 21st or 20th in Worlds points when the season was still early, and I was actually thinking about, hey, I should do the Worlds race. But I realized it's just not worth it, because it's like, for me to go fly around and go to all these regionals that barely have any prize support, it's going to eat my time, my energy, and my money. And those are 3 things that are really important. And it could be put towards something else, like my nursing career that I'm very proud of. And it's just like, I don't want to feed into a company too heavily that doesn't respect me as a player. And that's Konami. And then also another thing is, I also am planning on going to LA regionals more than likely. So I'll just kind of go to places that are close by. Like, I don't want to do too much. So yeah, you'll see me in April probably at LA regionals. But other than that, I'm just like, yeah, I don't really want to. Cool. Shout outs to the people doing the Worlds race. That's cool. Good for you. Like, that's super cool, super dope. But as someone who's done the World race before in Pokemon, I'm just like, no, at the end of it all, I want to be able to be proud of it, win or lose. And I just felt like I wouldn't be proud of it because of the current state of things. So that's that. Also, I think the main thing about the game right now, like, one of the things that really opened my eyes was when I bought opened 2 cases of that QCR set, because I was like, you know what, like, even though it has reprints like evenly and stuff, it's a really good case. It's gonna be super worth it. If I buy 2, I'll probably at least pull a playset of Ashes, which are gonna make it worth it. And then I didn't pull a single Ash Blossom. I think that's ridiculous for Konami to short print a chase card that low to where someone can buy 2 cases of it and they don't pull it. And that's what really like annoyed me, because I was just like, wow, like, if I didn't pull a single Ash after this, what the heck? Like, it's just more examples of kind of abuse. You can argue unlucky, but the fact that they would make their ratio that low, it's just like, no, that's not cool, bro. Like, why would I ever buy product? If I want something, I'm just gonna buy it. Like, but I did get a lot of cool other things, but then also having cool cards that people don't generally want in that set. When I would pull those QCRs, like, for example, that one trap or whatever, I was just like, bro, like, why'd you even do, like, come on, Konami. I didn't even get a place at it. I got 2 QCR imperms from there. So talk about, like, not being worth the risk. Like, 2 whole cases. But, you know, it was a valuable lesson learned. Until Konami fixes their current state of affair, I'll probably be cool off a sealed product. But I will stand, that case was, that set was a really good set in a very long time. They should do things like that, but just make it better. Like, make it, like, don't make the Ash Blossoms not able to pull into whole cases. And the real bummer about that, the Ash Blossoms lowered in price after. They were at 300, then they lowered to like 1 something, and I'm like, so it's really not even worth it to buy a case after a few weeks that the product's been out. So, you know, that's just my personal experience and thoughts on things. I hope my tips and tricks helped. Defense, guys, especially in a tier 0 format, you want to be able to bring your opponent down to an even playing field and just excel past that. Like, that's what I was doing with stuff like Daruma Cannon and stuff. Like, so you're not going to always be able to combo. You're not going to always be able to play, but you need to make it to where a hero lives and triumphs. And that's going to be the name of the game for a very long time, and especially in tier 0 formats. So hey, this is Christmas Hero. I know it's kind of a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and it was good talking to you guys again. Closer to April, I'll probably be coming with more content, going to locals to try to practice. Like, we'll see. But until then, Christmas Hero out. A hero still lives, y'all.